Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update regarding things going on in the Atlantic Basin and the Pacific Basins. We've got some action going out there, especially in the Eastern Pacific. Not a lot to talk too much about the Atlantic, but we will dive into our little highlighted area of interest here. It has not been given an invest tag yet, so we only have the global models running on this right now. Currently, we have a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 50% chance of development over the next 7 days as it slowly works its way across the main development region of the tropical Atlantic. If we take a look here at our 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity, we have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. As we run this forward, we will see that it denotes our areas of spin and we get it out to about 72 hours, and both models have a decent signal of a developing tropical cyclone. As we continue to run this out and get it out towards day 5, the GFS has a very coherent and developed signal out here. This would be named. The Euro is still kind of broad, although it is in its formidable stages. And as we can see going forward, by the time we get to day 6, this would definitely be a named tropical cyclone. So now here we are out to day 7. The GFS is much further north and is closing in on the 20-degree mark, and we also have 40 degrees west. As to where the Euro is down here, probably at about 17 and 46, so 18 and 46. So there is a little bit of a difference there. Now, as we continue to run this forward and getting out towards day 10, as you could see, the Euro lifts off to the north and to the west, and the GFS is out here into the open waters of the central Atlantic, and the storm is actually weakening. The Euro, on the other hand, has a much stronger signal. So we do see the potential for some development as far as the cyclonic vorticity is concerned. Our sea surface temperatures, folks, we know our sea surface temperatures are there. They haven't updated the screen in a while anyway, but there we definitely have the sea surface temperatures for tropical cyclone development. Now, what we have here, we've got the Euro model on the left 2 frames and the GFS model on the right 2 frames. On the top is representative of the 500 millibar level, which is approximately 3.5 miles above the ocean surface. On the bottom represents the 700 millibar level, which is approximately 2 miles above the ocean surface. What these graphics denote is our humidity levels. Brown equals dry air, greens equal more moist air. Tropical cyclones do not like a considerable amount of dry air in its presence or region, especially if there is a shear component. So as we continue to run this out, we do know that by the time we got to day 5, we had development of a system on both of the models. So we're going to take a look here and compare them, and we see that there is a considerable amount of dry air just to the west at the 500 millibar level, but not so much at the 700 millibar level where the GFS is concerned. Similar look here with the Euro. 700 millibar level doesn't have a lot of dry air, but the 500 millibar level has a considerable amount of dry air. So as we continue to run this forward, we'll run this out to day 7. Now, by the time we get to day 7, we do know that the Euro has a very well developed system, although there looks to be potentially a little bit of dry air entrainment down there at the 700 millibar level. If we look at the GFS, this poor thing is in big trouble. There is a considerable amount of dry air on the southwestern, southern, and southeastern side at the 500 millibar level. This is really going to help to inhibit and potentially weaken the storm, and we did notice that on the cyclonic vorticity. The 700 millibar level also has what looks to be the entrainment of a little bit of drier air associated with the center of circulation. If we run this out and get this out, running it towards day 10. Now, as we noted on the Euro, it still had a coherent signal, but look at what is surrounding this tropical cyclone. As you could see, there is a considerable amount of dry air, even though it is tracking off to the north and northwest. If we compare that with the GFS, the same thing is occurring. It has gotten itself into a mess of dry air by pulling too far northward. Now, again, folks, these are the global deterministic models. We do not have a coherent system yet. We don't even have an area of invest yet. So it is too early to make any determinations, and these models will continue to change as we go forward day by day until we get at least an organized system to be represented by the models. All right, here on the left we have the Euro, and on the right we have the GFS. This represents our deep layer wind shear. This is the changing of winds with height going from approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface all the way up to around 40,000 feet into the atmosphere. So anywhere between about 5,000 and 40,000 feet, and how the winds change with height. That's what this model represents. So as we continue to run this forward, we will see that there is a little bit of shear off to the north of where the system is. Now, this is potentially going to help enhance development in the very beginning, but as this storm begins to pull further and further northward, it is going to have to potentially deal with some of that shear. And with all of that dry air associated with it, it's not really looking too good of an environment for it. As you could see, just running the Euro all the way out, the lowest pressure on the Euro was 981 millibars. Now, that's not saying that that's what the storm is going to be, but even the Euro, even though we saw a very, very coherent and decent signal there on the 850 millibar vorticity, it never really got it up into quote unquote major hurricane territory. Didn't even come close. All right, our stalled out frontal boundary and our low pressure system, there is a non-tropical low developing right here. That has helped to pull in a little bit of drier air and some lower dew points to the folks here into the southeast, and especially along the Florida Peninsula today. But as you could see, there is still a considerable belt of moisture here that is associated with that stalled out frontal boundary. Now, anywhere in here is forecast to receive rain. Now, when we look at the overall models, we've got the NOAA blend of models here on the left and the WPC official forecast on the right. If we run this forward, we will note that there is a considerable amount of rain for southern Florida. And as you can see, when I run this all the way out to day 10 on the NOAA blend of models, you're looking at potentially 5 to 7 inches widespread across a good portion of southern Florida. Basically from Lake Okeechobee southward is not looking too good. Now the WPC forecast, when we drop it back out here to day 7 to match up with the WPC, they are pretty similar. But then look at the following 3 days from the NOAA blend of models. So it is hypothetically possible that we continue to see these rainfall totals, at least at the 7 day, hold steady and or increase as we get, the daily value go down and the next daily value get added in. So it could hold steady, and then it could also fluctuate, increase, maybe decrease just a little bit. But 6 inches in a week, that's an average of what, 24 inches in a month? That's a little bit more than what we would like to see. Taking a look here tonight at our models, this is the Euro Legacy Ensembles. And as we can see, when we push this out to day 10, we have the development of a tropical cyclone, but a good amount of spread between the models. So as you could see, we have a great amount of uncertainty that are still exist. And that's always going to be the case until we at least get an area of invest down here, or kind of as it is moving off to the west or the west northwest. When can we get more ensembles and more models added to this and get a little bit more of a coherent signal added to the models? Now, one thing that I have to point out here, and I've noticed this signal over the last couple days beginning to increase. We're out 10 days and there's only a few. There's 8 if you really want to count them out here. But it's about that, we're getting to about that time of the season where we're going to have to watch this Western Caribbean. And out 10 days, as you can see, we've certainly got, a few down there. It's only 16% if we run it by the probabilities, but the signal has been increasing day by day. Very, very slowly, but day by day. Now, if we compare that with the Euro AI, we don't have much at all. But we also have a more southerly track, a lot less intense compared to the Euro Legacy. As you can see, the Euro Legacy really wants to ramp this up in a few of them, not all of them. The Euro AI is not in agreement with the Legacy, saying that yes, we could have development, but we're not looking at getting anything below 980 millibars. So it remains to be seen. Although the folks here in the Leeward Islands, especially into the northern Lesser Antilles, getting into the Virgin Islands, potentially Puerto Rico, this has the potential to take a very similar track to Aaron or Ferdinand. So we're going to have to really keep a very, very close watch on this and see if it just doesn't get too close. Maybe some indirect impacts or direct impacts. It is certainly too early to tell. If we compare these all with the GEFS and going out 10 days, as you could see, the GEFS does have signal, has a few that develop it and then almost immediately pull it up to the north. This trough feature across the east coast of the United States is forecast to stay a prevalent factor in anything that we're try to basically be above 20 north and trying to get further west. It's just not going to happen, especially into the southwestern Atlantic, way too close. Now, if we compare all these with the Google DeepMind and we were to run this forward, we'll note that we've got some, we've got stuff to talk about out here in the Eastern Pacific tonight, no question. But right now we're concentrated on the Atlantic. And if we run this forward, we will note that the Google DeepMind really, there's 50 ensemble members. Now, you take a look at what we've got off the Baja Peninsula right there. You take a look at that signal. That is an unbelievable amount of its ensemble members picking up on tropical cyclone development. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's one out there right now associated with that particular spot. But if we look into the Atlantic, we don't have a lot. Now, this is out 7 days, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it on there. And as you can see, we've got a few, but they've all got, the majority of them have got a turn to the north. The question is, Does it get too far west before it can turn to the north and avoid impact or even indirect impact with the islands? That's a question. It's a little too early to say. Now, I do have to come back out here because we're almost done with the Atlantic Basin, and I have to show what I've got here. As you could see, the Google DeepMind has a 50-50, maybe even better than a 50-50 opportunity to see some of this moisture associated with, it'd be the L storm. I think it's Lorenzo or something like that, Loretta or something. I'm not, Lolita, something. I'm not sure. It's an L name storm. But as you can see, we could see an increase in moisture out here into the southwestern United States, and then could also transition further 2 points eastward. Now, we have Kiko out here, and I am going to discuss this because I do have the Google DeepMind up. As you could see, Hawaii is potentially under the gun from either the remnants or potentially indirect or direct impact from Kiko. So we'll go over that here in just a moment. Our nightly MJO look, as you could see here, it is forecast to kind of come back around, stay well within the circle, and then potentially amplify out here towards phases, the end of phase 2, beginning of phase 3, getting into the Indian Ocean area and to the maritime continent. So we're gonna really be keeping a very close watch on this just to see how it progresses, and we check back with it every single night. A quick look at Earth Null just to show everybody that yes, there is an area of low pressure off of the Florida coastline. If we were to come up in height, as you could see, it is definitely elongated and frontal. So it is a non-tropical area of low pressure, does not have vertical structure to it whatsoever, is a very shallow storm. As you can see, you barely get a signal here at the 700 millibar level, although the 850 and 1000 millibar level getting down towards the ocean surface is a little bit more coherent. But if we jump up and we take a look at the winds that are in the upper levels and the shear that this thing is going to be encountering, plus the dry air. There's the 500 millibar level, the 700 millibar level. There is continental dry air that is also influencing this area of low pressure off of the Florida East Coast. Therefore, non-tropical in nature, and it is not covered by the National Hurricane Center. Now, today is September 1st. Usually we retire our dust model today. Yesterday should have been the last day. Today, as I run this forward, I will show everybody that today is the last day that we are going to be showing this dust model. As you can see, there is a little bit of dust that may potentially get out here past 40 degrees west, but for the majority of the model, you can see that there is not a lot of thickness with the dust that is getting past our 40 degree mark. So let me put our 40 degree line up here so everybody can see it roughly in that range right there. That's our 40 degree line. And we know that our islands are getting out there towards 60. So if I run this forward, you will see that not a lot of that thick dust, maybe a little bit right here, day 7, day 8. But then look what happens. You start getting them pock marks, and then just the overall thickness of the dust really starts to diminish quite a bit, and then we don't have a lot behind that. So tonight, unfortunately, is the night to where Uncle Sal, acronym for the Saharan air layer, that's what we call it, Uncle Sal is now gone. So we may get a little bit of play with it here and there, but otherwise than that, I'm not really. It's not really going to be much of a factor as we go further and further into the season, because of the fact that we've got the peak of the season, or the climatological development area, is going to start to shift back more and more to the west as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. So the main development region, we've got a couple more weeks that we're going to have to monitor this, but as far as the storms crawling off of the African mainland and making it all the way across, those, as we get a few more weeks down the road, that's going to become extraordinarily difficult for these storms to make it from the African mainland all the way across, especially if it develops here in the main development region. It's going to want to go poleward and turn north. So our global tropics hazards outlook, as you can see, we get a new update from this tomorrow night. So week 3 will slide into the week 2 slot, and then we will get week 3 being from September 6th to 17th through the 23rd. And we'll see if we keep this same signal tomorrow down here in week 3 as it transitions up towards week 2. Okay, and what I was mentioning, today is September 1st. Real easy to put a line on this. We got a long way to go, folks. It's not over. It's not over. As you can see, we've got the climatological peak, we've got a secondary peak, and even a third peak as we get into the middle of October. So it's not over yet, folks. Don't let your guard down. All right, getting out here into the Eastern Pacific. Currently, we have Invest 94E, and I'm kind of shocked that they haven't pulled the trigger on this yet. I really am. The satellite looks very, very, very promising, and I would not be surprised if we've got this at least within the next 6 hours of getting a tropical depression and or the L name storm. We also have Kiko out here. We'll talk about Kiko here in a second. This one currently has an 80% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 90% chance of development over the next 7 days. Folks, especially into the Baja Peninsula, need to monitor the progress of Invest 94E very, very closely. And even the folks down here into extreme southwestern mainland Mexico, just keep an eye on this thing, because as we can see here with the satellite view, it's got some promise. Take a look at that. You tell me that that doesn't look like that. That looks pretty good to me. And then we've got Kiko out here trying to cycle out that dry air, and if it can cycle out that dry air, watch out. That thing could go absolutely bonkers. Because it's a small, compact center of circulation. And if it can get that eye wall developed and core off that dry air from the center of circulation, this thing could ramp up rather quickly. And Invest 94L, although we don't have too much on it just yet, because the Invest classification just came out this afternoon, we will definitely have a lot more information on it tomorrow. But by that time, I'm afraid we're already going to have a named system on that. So as far as Kiko is concerned, currently we are located at 13.8 north, 126.7 west, about 1,265 miles west-southwest of the southern tip of the Baja California. Maximum sustained winds are 65 miles an hour, and its present movement is west-southwest at 7 miles an hour, with the minimum central pressure down to 999 millibars. Currently, there are no coastal watches or warnings in effect, and there are no hazards affecting land. If we look at the cone of uncertainty, as we could see, We get it out here and everything looks fine. There's not much involved. But let me slide this just a little bit to the right. As you can see, we're starting to get a little bit of a hook here and a little bit of a turn. That turn, in theory, could get us a little bit uncomfortably close to the island of Hawaii and the state of Hawaii. So if you got friends out there, family out there, please just let them know, hey, monitor Kiko. No, don't get nervous about it. Don't panic or anything like that. Just keep an eye on it. Check back with the National Hurricane Center at least once a day to monitor the forecast. If we look at Kiko's forecast discussion, we're not going to read it all out tonight. There is concern, though, that we may get a little bit of extra peak. And as you could see here, last night we had it at a maximum of 90 miles an hour. And tonight the National Hurricane Center has it just under major hurricane status at 110 miles an hour with a peak here at 60 and 72 hours, and then maybe backing off just a little bit in its intensity on days 4 and 5, which would be a good thing, being that days 4 and 5 are here. So if we're starting to at least get it to reduce as it is on this general direction and heading, we may be able to knock this out to not much if it gets too close. And some of the models are calling for exactly that. If we look at those models, as you can see, if it draws and it pulls up a little bit too much to the north, there's not a lot of strength. All right, so it's certainly going to try to lessen in its intensity as it pulls further and further up away from the warmer waters of that getting closer to the equator. These are the Euro Legacy. As you can see, there's certainly stuff there, and the Euro Legacy has a decent amount of its members potentially drawing Invest 94E up into the Baja and potentially driving a lot of that moisture into the southwestern United States. If we compare that with the AI also has a few of those members that want to run off to the northeast here in Vest 94E. There are quite a few of its members, though, that bring it up out here off the coast, weaken it, and then it just kind of turns to the left in its low-level flow. If we look at Kiko has the potential, could run a little further south, could get up here towards Hawaii, but peekaboo, there's another one on Kiko's heels. So Eastern Pacific looks to stay active. So we are going to continue to monitor and cover that, especially for our friends and folks there in Hawaii. If we compare that with the GEFS has damn near the same signal. As you could see, we have the stronger of the systems moving into potentially the Baja California area. We've got Kiko out here that could potentially get into and influence the impacts and weather here into Hawaii. And then we also have another one on its heels. So Eastern Pacific is going to stay hot, it seems like, for the next 7-10 days, maybe a little bit longer. Jumping out to the Western Pacific, the only show in town right now is still 95W with a low chance of development over the next 24 hours. That's about it. Okay, if anybody's got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, but that's about all we've got for tonight. I don't want to spend too much deep dive into our little interest out here into the tropical Atlantic because the models are going to change again tomorrow. It has not developed. It's still only a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours. And if I run this all the way to the end and I just stop this, look at the cloud cover out here. That's not a very coherent signal. It's nothing like what we see out here into the Eastern Pacific with Kiko and Invest 94E. It's not even a comparison, honestly, here tonight. Now, tomorrow, it's probably going to be a different story, but that's why we're live every single night until Halloween, regardless of development percentages. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. We'll make this a short and quick and easy one here tonight. So, have a wonderful evening. We will be live back again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on Facebook and YouTube. With that, have a wonderful evening, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Good night.